Hello, everyone. This is Les Brown, and I'm going to have an interview with Dr. Cindy Trim. And she is a speaker extraordinaire, an entrepreneur. She's changed millions of people's lives around the world for years. And I get to call her my friend and business partner. And I am so excited to talk to her about expand your vision of yourself. Expand your vision of yourself. Things have changed. And doing, as Einstein said, the same thing in the same way, expecting a different outcome is insanity. And so, thank you so much for joining me today. It's a pleasure to see you. I just know that when your husband saw you, Pastor Russell, he became very spiritual and said, "The Lord is my shepherd; I see what I want."
I hope that's what he said.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
Well, it's such a pleasure to be doing life with you and helping so many people to discover who they really are. And I call it enoughness, that we were born with enoughness.
Mm,
And we just need to connect with that. We have more than enough power and more than enough resources that is innately given to us. And a lot of people end up becoming someone that they're not because they don't feel like they are enough.
Dr. Cheryl Wood, she talked about that. How do people get in touch with that, especially when their lives have been disrupted? I've been saying that life consists of disruptions, it consists of transformation and decisions. We have things that happen to us, we have to transform to accommodate those things, and we have to make a decision about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. Because at the end of the day, all of us are basically the same. And what
Yeah.
separates us is the decisions that we make
Hmm.
when
Hmm.
our lives have been disrupted. So, what are the decisions that most people don't have the mental clarity to make when the disruption is imminent, it is still raw, like losing your job, going through a divorce, or just having something tragic catch you on the blind side that you never saw coming?
Hmm. Hmm. I think, understanding that so many of us have lived a life that is wrapped up in other people's expectations of us until we don't know what we want for ourselves, what we need for ourselves. And we've been programmed over the years to know what everyone else wants and everyone else needs. And that critical moment that is a defining moment usually happens for us in the middle of a crisis. That crisis could be a personal crisis, it could be a crisis that we're going through now, like the pandemic that's affecting the entire world. And when that happens, we've never been trained and educated to understand that those crises haven't come to destroy us. No problem has come to destroy us. They're actually an invitation to us. And that invitation is to discover who we really are. And because we're such complex beings, and if it would take us literally a lifetime to discover everything about us, and we're given 1 year to discover our potential as a 20-year-old. And when we master that, then we turn 21 and we start the process all over. And in each one of those stages of our lives is really to be tapped on the shoulder by life. And rather than asking life, what's the meaning of life? Life is asking us. And we literally have to go inside to find the answers. And most of us reach outside of ourselves for those answers. And so life then gives us a test and then it gives us the answer after we attempt to, overcome those tests and find the answers. So the test is given first, and then the answer comes after that. And we really can see the crises as a gift rather than something that is coming to take something from us. I think if we see it as a gift, as something that brings something to us, and what it brings a mirror, and it shows us two things. It shows us who we are presently, but also who we have the potential to be
Mm-hmm.
after we pass the test. It shows us both things, and I think most of us are afraid. We're afraid to and come into agreement with the second image, because the second image is always more powerful. And Merriam Williamson says, "Who am I to think that I can be brave and brilliant?" And then she says, "Well, who am I not? I'm a child of God." So I think it takes a lot of boldness to be able to step from outside of the shadows, to be able to declare, this is who I am, this is what I'm not going to participate in, and this is what I'm going to participate in. And we can participate in our greatness or our weakness. We get to choose every single day. And I think that's why, being able to listen to motivational tapes, or having a coach, or having a mentor becomes a vital asset in times like this, because they can remind us who we really are. But usually we choose people who have been where we're trying to go. And we need both. We need the right kinds of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
We need and those relationships become mirrors to us. So it's all about making a decision. Those decisions are important. We can decide to become a victim, or we could decide that we can become a victor.
When you think about, there's so many people that are experiencing a lot of pain now. The number of people who've lost their jobs, 47 million people have lost they're projected to lose their jobs because of artificial intelligence. There are people waiting on a stimulus check, and politicians are going back and forth with it. And and it will determine whether or not some people will be able to afford their prescription drugs, or have food on the table, or being able to pay their rent. It's a tough time for people who've lost their jobs already, and businesses that can't open because of the pandemic and the social distancing. This has created a blow that just keeps on getting stronger in terms of the economy, and our abilities to provide for ourselves financially. What do you say to people that's trying to stabilize themselves, not be driven by fear? Because God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind. What do you say to people? What type of process that they can anchor themselves into and implement on a regular basis that will build mental resiliency?
I grew up in abject poverty, and I want to start with just a simple story. Um, my mother, 7 kids, and she was forced to live in a one room that was offered to her, and she had to do everything with 7 children in that one room. And I asked her several questions. What was that like? I wasn't there. She had lost her father at the age of 8 or 9, and her mother at the age of 11.
Hmm.
So from 11 years old, she had to make a decision. And one of the decisions she had to make was to leave school because she had two baby brothers. So she was not of an age to be hired. She was orphaned with no father, no mother. She was responsible for two baby brothers, and she's only 11.
Mm.
And her life is an interesting story. It's a series of um, just challenging moments that defined who she was. And at 11, she became a woman. She became a mother. She had to adopt her two little boys, two little brothers. And she had to figure out from that point how she was going to live, how she was going to uh, how she was going to survive. And that's at 11.
Mm.
At 15, she meets my father. 16, she's starting a family with two of her brothers, baby brothers. At
Mm-hmm.
25, or 26, she has seven children, somewhere there about
Mm.
26. That's seven plus her two brothers.
They didn't waste
And
any
my
time.
father abandoned her.
Whoa.
And she's in these are series of life
He
crises.
left her with seven kids.
Yeah. So these are series of life crises. And she's not even yet 30. And she makes a decision at each point. Every point of her life, there's some decision that she has to make. And she makes a decision and she gets through one day at a time. And I think we gulp at life. I learned from her how to sip at life. Life comes to us one day at a time for a reason.
Mm.
And if we can manage 24 hours, we just have to manage 24 hours. And I came up with a simple way that people can climb out of anything, Mr. Brown. And I learned that from my mother. One, ritual. My mother did the same thing every day. Every morning, she had a ritual. Every night, she had a ritual. And
My
she
mama
did it
did too.
religiously. A
Yeah.
ritual. Get a ritual.
Yes.
Number two, get a routine. A ritual is not the same thing as a routine. Number three, find your rhythm. Don't let life pull you all over the place. People pull you all over the place. The news pull you all. What is your rhythm? Find your rhythm. Because we live in this ecosystem and everything has a rhythm and it plays like a symphony. Don't jump all around trying to play someone else's part. You play your part. Don't compare yourself with anybody else. This is your life. No one is living a better life than you. Nobody is living a worse life than you. We're all just living life. We're all winging it. We're trying to figure this thing out.
Yes.
We believe the stories we tell ourselves. And anytime the plot gets too hard, you can shout plot twist anytime you want. And because you get to write your own destiny, sit down and take some me moments and say, at the end of this year, this is where I want to be. It's strange how the mind does not know the difference between imagination and reality. And Einstein said imagination is more powerful than knowledge.
Hmm.
So we can ingest all the knowledge and all the facts, or we could start re navigating our lives with imagination. So that's routine, ritual, rhythm, but there's another R, and that is rest. You got to figure out how to get sleep. We are not called an angel or God for a person. We're called human beings. So you do everything that you possibly can for that day based on a vision that you have for the year. And if you can't think as far as the year, get through the week. This is how you sip at life. Where do I want to be at the end of the week? And take 100% responsibility to get there. And do at least one thing every single day
Mhm.
towards getting there. So if you're unemployed and you need, say, to pay your rent or you need to buy food for the house, what is it going to take to do that? What will it take? You have to decide and work at that every day. It may take working at McDonald's, even if you are qualified to be an executive in a corporation. If you could do one step at a time. I'm thinking about my mother with 7 children and living in one room, not a house, one room, living out of one room.
Mm.
And deciding that this is a priority. What is a priority? Her children. We have to know the difference between needs and wants. And if you're in a point of desperation, separate the needs from wants. What do I need to get to the end of the week? Not what I want. What do I need?
Mhm.
And we have resources that we've never, ever maximized. If we don't have money, we have our mind, we have our time, we have our voice, we have our hands. We have a network. There are certain things that are more important than money. And we make money our priority when we've got so many other resources. Work your resources. Work your resources. I remember Mr. Brown wanting to go to ballet. And I went to my mother with 7 children. And she said, okay. And okay meant there's no money in the house. But if you can come up with a way that you can get the money, okay. So I sat there at 8 years old and decided this is what I wanted to do. And I can't be a victim. My mother taught me never to bag, never to tell a sad story. Take 100% responsibility. And I started my first business at 8. I found a need in the community. I found a problem that people had. There were older people in my community that couldn't go to the grocery store. So I
Mhm.
started my little concierge service. I went to the grocery store and got paid for it.
Instacart.
There's so many needs that are out there, Mr. Brown. People don't want to cook. Can you cook? People don't want to clean their house. Can you clean? This is just a means to an end.
John H. Johnson said, "There's no defense against an excellence that meets a pressing public need." So you
Mm,
find some need and you provide a service for that need and hold yourself to a higher standard on how you do that, under promise and over deliver. You will create a place for yourself in the economy.
mm,
When you think about the pressure, the coronavirus, the mutation, the mixed messages, the confusion of what to do and what not to do, wear two masks and wear shield, or don't go in places where there are large gatherings, or the this virus can hang in the air for a while and you can walk by in the grocery store where somebody just came down the aisle and you can get it. Or if you get your shot, it doesn't mean that you can't get it. It just protects you from giving it to somebody. And it has created a level of fear and uncertainty and stress. I don't go out of the house. because I don't know what to believe and what not to believe. And so I'm being safe because dealing with my situation, I haven't had the shot yet. Just turned 76 February the 17th.
And looking good.
Thank you very kindly.
I think you just say that so that you could get seniors discount.
Oh, thank you. I would. Look here. I tell you what I was going to do. I haven't gotten the shot yet, so I told a friend of mine, my business partner Celeste Johnson. I said, wherever they're having the shot, I said, let's go rent a wheelchair, and I'll get in the wheelchair. And they've got to have deference to people in a wheelchair. And just roll me up front, in front of the
Yeah,
line.
you are going to have to produce your ID as well.
I still have to do
Oh yeah, because you're an imposter.
that.
You're an imposter.
I received that. Thank you. But when you think about all the things that's going on, how do you find that peace that passeth all human understanding that Paul talked about? How do you
Everyone has to
find that?
trust. Everyone has to believe in something.
Hmm.
Everybody. Even, when it comes to an atheist, he believes that there is no God. So everyone has to believe.
Right. You got to believe in something.
You got
Even
to
though
believe
the
in something.
atheist, they'll
Yeah.
believe nothing. Okay, got it. I
Yeah.
never heard
Everyone
that
has
one
to be a
before.
belief.
Right.
So, you know, uh, and I believe in God. So that's number one. I believe that there is a God. And I have friends that are atheists. And I said, okay, we have God in common. And they're arguing. And I said, okay, I believe in God. You don't believe in God. So God is in common. And so they always laugh just like that. And they give me a standing ovation all the time. But find a center. We're spiritual beings and we can't fight that, and there is always something bigger than ourselves. And once we are able to have a belief in God, or belief that there is a force that is guiding us, and that when you look back at history, we can see how we made it through, and we're going to make it through that. Looking back at history and looking back at all of the epidemics that has hit the world, we made it through. And it's always a call to the people that are a part of that generation to go in. That's the second thing. I tell people, reach up, reach out, reach in. Reach
Mm,
up to God, reach out to a community. We can't do this by ourselves. Find someone that is not freaking out like you're freaking out, and lean on your community. Lean on your community. Reach out and turn the TV off, turn the news off. It's too much gloom and doom. Find your happy space, reach in. So reach up, that's God, reach out. Find a community that you can that can help you to build your hope, a place of worship, a pastor, a priest, a church, friends, family. Don't go it alone. And I realize that there are people that go it alone because they don't have friends and don't have family. But there are organizations that they can reach out to. Reach out to these organizations if they're home alone, if they're lonely, and then reach in, and center yourself and find that place in you. I call it me moments, and nurture that. And that's where your ritual comes in. You
mm,
know, the ritual is every day be grateful for one thing.
mhm.
Everything is not going wrong. And if
Right.
you wake up in the morning and you can see,
Mhm.
some people
Be
went to bed
grateful.
last night and woke up, or didn't wake up. Find one thing to be grateful for every single day. Number two, if you can, reach out, help someone else, even if it's giving a kind word to someone else. And the last thing is, we just got to believe, we got to help one another. We're all in this thing together, all of us. And if that doesn't give you comfort, we're all trying to find answers, all trying to find solutions. And I believe also there are people out there that will help. We could see it in crowdfunding. We can see it where with Salvation Army. We can see it. There are organizations that are out there that will help you. When I grew up in abject poverty, thank God for Salvation Army. And that's why I continue to give. That was an organization that helped my family. You're not in this thing by yourself, and you're not alone.
Mm. When you think about right now where we are and the goals that you've set for yourself, this is a new beginning in so many ways after disruption and transformation. How do you see and what do you see for what it is you're going to do with your time on the planet this year? What's the major goal that Dr. Cindy Trim would like to achieve this year? And what role did you like for people to support you in that?
I plan to spend the rest of my life mentoring women in leadership,
Mm.
and offering my services. I've had three very successful careers, and I retired at 32.
Now, what was the first career?
My first career was working in government. I worked for government. I worked in Department of Social Insurance or Social Security, and then I worked in the Ministry of Finance. So, as a part of a team that actually engineered the budget for government and then managed that throughout the year. So, we took a year to build the budget and they debated it in government, passed the budget. Then I spent the year building the next year, but managing the budget for government. Then I worked in international banking, which is somewhat similar. And
Hmm.
then my final was I was in government. I was a senator in the ruling party. So those are my three successful careers. And I spent years advising government, years advising nonprofit, for profit companies. I spent years doing that. And then I retired and immigrated to the United States of America. So I'm British American. So I had to hit the reset button all over again, start at the bottom and work my way to where I am. So when people talk to me about their challenges, I had to understand something that the financial status of anyone has been paid for by that person. And they paid for it, or I paid for it. Let's use me as an example. That any status, whether it was social or financial, I paid for it. I paid for it with time, with energy, and with thought.
Hmm.
And if I didn't like a particular status, whether it was financial or social or professional, then I had to address and adjust how I spent my time, how I managed my mind, and how I manage my resources. Those are the three secrets to success: time, mind, and resources, whatever resources it was. And every day I get to choose. I get to choose who I spend my time with, what I spend my time with. I get to choose what I think. I get to choose who I'm with. And I do that every single day. And if a person takes 100% responsibility for that, it's like getting married. Nobody put a gun to my head and said, marry this man. It was my choice.
Hmm.
So if that relationship didn't go well and it is going well, then I have to take responsibility for that. So, taking 100% responsibility, I'd say it is what it is. It ain't what it ain't. It is what it is. It ain't what it ain't. So there are some things I can change, other things I can't change. So I'm going to change what I can change, and this is this. This is my reality.
One major goal this year that you are focused on accomplishing.
Major goal is to make $1 million in the pandemic.
Hmm.
And it cannot be an existing source of income. My goal is to create
Now,
another stream of income, and at the end of the year to net $1 million. That's my goal. That's a big goal.
yeah, I believe in Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 19. A feast is made for laughter, and wine maketh merry, but money answereth all things.
Yes. Money answers all things. It doesn't solve all problems, but it answers all things.
Yes, it is better to have it not needed than to need it and not have it.
Come on now. Come on now. So that's my goal. I'm doing that because I do coach people and I do mentor people, and I'm saying to people, okay, it's never the circumstances or situations, it's never the location that dictates to your well-being and your success. Only you do that. And I'm spending the year to prove that.
That's great. They said coming out of this, Lynn out of Chicago, a friend of mine, she said coming out of this pandemic will be millionaires, billionaires, and witnesses. So
Well, I want people to take themselves out of witness protection.
yes, yes, that is great. How can people get in touch with you if they'd like to become a part of things that you're doing? You have a variety of programs that can help to empower people, to help transform their lives, to help them to build themselves from the inside out. What is your website and
Trim
what is your
International,
email?
triminternational.com. That's two M's.
Say it again.
Trim International.
Hmm.
That's easy. And Cindy Trim on all social media.
Okay. Fantastic. It's been a plum pleasing pleasure as well as a privilege. Give regards to your lovely husband. And thank you so much for spending time with us and sharing your thoughts because I'm sure that the people listening, including myself, has gotten value out of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Bye bye, Mr. Brown.
Yes, ma'am. And bye, Dr. Cindy. All right. I hope that you enjoyed the conversation. And it's about how do we begin to expand our vision of ourselves and focus on those things that we can do, those things that we can control, which is us and our minds, our thoughts, our energy, our time, and how we spend it. That will determine when we come out of this what kind of position that we'll be in and the things that you're doing now in the midst of it. My daughter, Dr. Ona Brown, I wish you'd go to her website, Ona, Dr. Ona Brown. She said, gaps are from God. And this is a time for a lot of people, including myself. I've been doing that to rethink my life, to rethink your life. Because I know that the journey that has brought me here is longer than the journey that I have left, and I'm rethinking my life because my goal is to finish strong. And you have something special. You have greatness in you. And there's something that Dr. Cheryl Wood said that I got to find it here. I got to memorize this. I love it. She says, I'm not going to mess it up. If I can't pull it up right now, I'm not going to mess it up. I have a great memory, subconscious mind. Give it to me. Give it to me. Yes, indeed. She said, what you are sitting on, what you're sitting on is what somebody needs. That's real. What are you sitting on? What ideas have you not acted on? What is it that you have ruled out for yourself? What if you uh, decide and taking your life in another direction that you couldn't fail? What would you do? What are the relationships that you need to let go because they have expired? They're not going in the direction that you're going. They are not growing like you are growing. They don't bring the best out of you. They don't lift your spirit. Their energy is no longer compatible with your energy. Sometimes there are certain relationships you have to come out from among them because you know this is it. You have certain kinds of relationship. There's social relationships, people you just have a good time with, that you kick it with. And then there are relationships that are collaborative relationships, people that lift your spirit, people that have an interest in what you have an interest in, people that's going in your direction, and that you can hold each other accountable. You can challenge each other. You can bring the best out of each other. Those are nourishing relationships. And they're toxic relationships. People who are critical of you, who drain you, who are always there when they need you, but when you need them, you can't find them. If there's anything that we can get from the coronavirus, life is fragile. Live it on your terms. Create a life that you love and love the life that you live. You have something special. You have greatness in you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. If you like listening to positive messages, I want you to go to hungrytospeak.com. Hungrytospeak.com. And there you will find some motivational messages. Wait, I think it's hungry to speak at gmail.com. Yes, I just continued. No, I was right. Hungrytospeak.com. I've been giving so many messages. Hungrytospeak.com. And you're going to find some motivational messages free. I guarantee you, it's going to change your life and the lives of people you care about. And you might ask, why are you putting this out there free? Because I think that we need to expose our children to messages that's positive. They need to hear us listening to something that can help them develop mental resolve. I saw this this video, and they had this little girl. She was about 4 or 5 years old, and they're asking a question, and she used profanity. Everybody, all the adults standing around, they laughed. Thought it was funny. Thought it was cute. It's not funny, and it was not cute. I teach kids that profanity is the strongest expression of a weak mind. My message is not for the people who did that. My message is for you. You. I'm not into the business of converting anybody's thinking or behavior. I'm I'm interested in working with the willing. The Jewish carpenter said, "Whosoever will, let him come." Listen to what I have to say. I'm working with the willing. There's some people I know when I see them and what they do. Mm-mm. No, I'm not going up in there. I'm leaving that alone. No, 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 no. Absolutely not. No. I can only speak to the ones who want to hear me. Work with the willing. And if you're still listening, you can hear me in your heart. We got a hookup. Got something for you. Go to hungrytospeak.com. You have something special. You have greatness in you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. This has been Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy. It's been a plum pleasing pleasure as well as a privilege. Bye for now. Tyrone, I'll be back there shortly. Take care now.